All right, so this workout, we are going to focus on your arm recovery. So your arm recovery starts pretty much when your arm exits the water at the finish of the stroke and ends at the time you place the hand back into the water at the front of the stroke. Now, there is a little bit of extension underneath the water, which we'll talk about at the end, but we'll break down different recovery techniques that you employ in the pool, talk about the pros and cons, and then we'll talk about the workout and the drill progression to hopefully make sure that recovery is as dialed as possible. So looking at Derek's recovery, I'll say there's two main techniques. One is a bent elbow technique, which you can see Derek doing here. So the elbow bends, it goes a little higher, the hand stays a little closer to the surface of the water. And this is probably what most of us learned in swimming lessons or what swim coaches might have taught us as we've gone. I'd say the main benefit to a bent elbow technique is it keeps everything more linear. So the hand path is more from the back to the front. And again, follows more of a straight line from that back to the front, which minimizes any lateral movement, which could cause some snaking, creating more drag as you move through the water. And again, that's pretty much the only benefit to a bent elbow arm pull. Now, as we look at Pam here, I'm just going to scrub forward. Pam's got an interesting stroke. So as you can see on the left arm here, we got a nice bent elbow arm pull. More of a back to front hand path. And then on the breathing side, the other arm, the right arm, we have a more straight arm. Slight bend in the elbow, of course, but you can see how much farther out to the side it's swinging. Now, luckily for Pam, she's got beautiful placement right in front of her shoulders here, so it's not causing any issue. But this really highlights the difference between sweeping out to the side and being a little more bent elbow front to back. I would say the advantage of the straighter arm recovery is when we talk about those rotational forces. I find when I do a straight arm recovery, man, I can just feel that so much more. I can get more thoracic spine rotation, more rotation through the shoulders, which we're talking about that a lot right now. That's where I find the straight arm recovery has its benefits. Same speed, straight arm, bent elbow, really doesn't matter. Really, it comes down to making sure that you're not crossing the midline and you're not doing any extra stuff under the water to cause additional drag or inefficiencies in terms of just getting into the stroke as soon as you can. So Pat has kind of a hybrid between a straight elbow and a bent arm. It's basically a straight arm recovery with a slight bend in the elbow, which I would say is common for most. Problem with Pat's stroke is we don't quite get that full extension on the front end. So as you can see, that elbow never quite gets fully extended. So we're missing a little bit of water out in the front. The left arm's a little bit better, but that is definitely something we can work on, is maximizing that reach, getting that extension underneath the water. And then we have Dustin, who has a very straight arm recovery. So in some of our straight arm recovery drills, this is a great example of how to do a straight arm recovery. You can see the difference in Dustin's stroke is, well, kind of similar to Pam. He's got one arm that will sweep way out to the side here, and then another arm that comes way up over the top. And again, hand placement is looking a lot better. Dustin really used to cross over. So that's gotten a lot better. I'd say the only disadvantage now is when we're talking about shoulder rotation, we're only looking for about 30-degree shoulder roll. A little less, hopefully, in the hips. But as you can see here, we're 45, probably cresting a little over 45. The angle was... I'll say 45 is a little too far too. So regardless, we may be over-rolling, or Dustin's a little bit over-rolling with that higher straight arm, which could throw some of the balance out just a little bit, rotating that much. That much. So that would be the pros and cons of a bent elbow and a straight arm. Again, really when it comes down to it, it's the hand placement. Sorry, Luke. I've watched Luke's video enough that I knew I could pick on him. And you're wearing the perfect cherry cap with your midline right there. So as you can see, Luke, unfortunately, on the entry, then crosses over, which then forces you just to come back to your side, which again is just kind of wasted time to come across and then back and then in. So again, placement right in front of the shoulder is always best, as well as sometimes that momentum coming across, coming over. Again, the lateral movement will cause a little bit of movement, a little bit of translation through the body. See a little bit of hip movement side to side. So you can see that happening here. We really want everything locked in. Only rotation is through the skewer down to the top of your head. So this transverse axis is only rotating. Obviously my head's not. So hand position, hand entry, most important. After the hand enters, we do want to keep it as clean as possible. Oh, sorry. I jumped ahead here. Maybe I'll jump back. Let's look at Curie. When the hand enters, we want to continue on being as efficient as possible. So when the hand enters the water, hopefully fingertips first, just in front of the shoulder, just past the head, probably a little more past the head than I'm going to show you in a second. And from there, you're just going to continue on slightly downward. And I'll show you that in a second in the video. Last thing we want to happen is that sweep back up to the surface, exposing the palm and causing more frontal drag, which you can see Curie does. Again, it's gotten way better. It used to be really pronounced, where you can see that hand there balancing primarily the breath would be causing drag. So if we can keep that nice and smooth. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to set you up to pull the cleanest water possible. So if you're not doing that nice extension underneath the water, that last little bit at the front of the stroke, you're going to be bringing a ton of bubbles with you. And sorry, Jerry, I know I've been picking on you for this for years too. But as you can see, Jerry entering, and then it's actually still at the surface here, and then is pushing down right away, carrying all those bubbles. And that really gets in the way of that grip on the water. So if we can clean them off, you're going to grab the water a lot better. The last thing about recovery is I talked about getting the arm back to the front of the stroke. Obviously, that means recovering. But also, you can allow for physical recovery, rest and recovery, relaxation of the muscles. So obviously, the main muscle activation is going to be through the arm pull under the water. And then it takes very little activation, should be very little effort to get back to the front of the stroke. So this should be nice and loose and easy. Sorry, Hassan, who just started swimming, so everything's going to be more stiff, intense. And the more stiff, intense you are, the less efficient you're going to be. So again, use the activation underneath the water, then relax, and just let the muscles rest for a second. So looking quickly, as I enter, this would be the phase where you can see these bubbles coming off. You can see 0 bubbles on my hand when I get into the arm pull. So just letting it sit for a second, bubbles come off, and you're pulling nice clean water, which gives you a lot more grip on the water. But it does force you to enter and get that last little bit of extension, maybe a foot or so underneath the water. Again, hand entering, not bringing too many bubbles with me anyway, because I'm pretty efficient on my entry. And you can see no additional movement. So, that hand can gradually drop as you're just getting ready to set up into the catch. But no additional exposure of the palm. And then you're right into it. So, the workout. As just with previous workouts, we're going to start off the warm-up with a little bit of practicing all the drills that we've been doing. Again, reinforce those movement patterns, reinforce all those skills, and just continually refine and improve those different movements. And the better you can do that, the more you're going to be able to make change to your stroke when we go to make those tiny movements or movement changes. So you're going to start off with 200 choice swim. You're just going to get wet, do whatever you like. Okay, maybe not whatever you like, but swim whatever strokes you like. Just get wet, warm up. Then we'll move through some of the drills that we've done already. We're going to go 450s where you're going 25 kick on side and then 25 freestyle. So it's that kick position, one arm up, one arm down. popping that top shoulder out, dropping the lat, getting into that nice extended freestyle position. Again, kicking one side all the way down and then swim back. Next 50, switch sides all the way down, all the way back. Again, if you are doing a different level in their 25s and you're just doing kick, obviously just do that. So the workout may be slightly different in terms of the distance and set rep scheme, as I've mentioned prior videos. So then we're going to be doing 6 beat kick freestyle. Sorry, that meant to be 12 beat kick freestyle. So 6 kicks per side. It's that pausing one. Again, 6 kicks, pull through. 6 kicks, pull through. So same position, that extended side glide type position, and you're just going to be rotating through that a little bit quicker. Catch up drill. So catch up drill. Wait for that arm to come over before you action that next arm pull, and then the good old recovery pause, which I'm actually impressed today. A lot of you did that a lot better than I thought, where you will recover through, but you're going to pause just before that hand entry, just for a few seconds. This is that over exaggeration of when you're breathing and you are sinking, decelerating, wanting to get into that stroke earlier, but it forces you to stay there on the side until that recovery and arm pull comes together. So that will be the drill sequence. You're more than welcome to use fins for any of it. Again, use the fins very easily. You don't want to wreck your ankles, just enough to assist by or in executing these drills and making them a little bit easier. So now we're on to the main set. We're going to do some 50s of straight arm recovery. So I want you to, bring those arms out to the side, up to the ceiling, really allow it to rock the torso and pop those shoulders out of the water. You can over exaggerate this one a little bit. So we'll play with that. You already saw Dustin's beautiful straight arm recovery. You can just mimic that. At least the left arm. Then we're going into just 100 freestyle. So we're going to do a drill set, some 50s or 25s, depending on what level you're at. And then we'll swim out a little bit where you're just focusing on that element. So focus on that thoracic spine rotation, that shoulder rotation. Then we're going to move on to the next drill, which is going to be one arm freestyle. We've already done this, but all I want you to focus on this time is actually where your hand is entering the water. And hopefully it's right in front of the shoulders. So if it's crossing over, be aware of it. You can look up. You could use a snorkel. You could even use a kickboard where you're holding the side of the board. And if you touch the board on that entry, you're crossing over. So that's a really good kinesthetic feedback mechanism of, ooh, I got to go wider. And actually a kickboard being about the width of your shoulders is a perfect tool if you have that issue of crossing over. So we're going to do that drill for 50. Back to swimming. Focus on the hand position. So freestyle, perfect hand position. That's it. Next drill, you're just going to relax and shake the hand out on the recovery. So a little bit slower recovery. Again, you can use fins for this to help with supporting you in the water, maintaining velocity so that you're not sinking to the bottom. But yeah, take your time and just relax. You don't want to be tense all the time. Be tense, activate on the arm pull, relax the rest. So we'll do that one, and then we'll swim out 100, where that's your focus, is relaxed recovery. And then the last drill that we're going to do is going to be one arm freestyle drill, but I really want you to take that time. Obviously, you're entering perfect now in front of your shoulder, but I'd like you to extend perfectly underneath the water and watch your hand and watch those bubbles just clean right off. Once they do, you're ready to pull. So we'll do that drill, cleaning off the bubbles, getting that last little bit of extension underneath the water, and that'll be it. So you have 4, well, I shouldn't even say 4 new drills, because some of these drills are renewed or revisited with a different purpose. So that's fun. Multi-purpose, you don't have to remember to do as many things. So that is the workout. Again, hopefully that all makes sense in terms of what we're trying to achieve. And hope you have a great swim. See you in the next one.